Hello. I hope the audio is coming through okay for you guys. Got a little fire going, got a space heater. Everyone wants to take up all the heating here in Texas. It's freezing. It's very cold. So, I want to address the cutting and easing narrative that the market seems to be basing its prices and prioritization on. The market is certainly overall very bullish right now. The Nasdaq just had the best January since 2001, and January is typically a pretty strong month. Um, so, there's plenty to talk about here. There's plenty to fade if you're gonna fade, and maybe we're right or wrong about that. So let's digest this cutting slash easing narrative and decide whether or not it is correct or incorrect. So let's get into it. Right before the Fed entered its blackout period where nobody was going to talk, Federal Reserve member or governor or president, not president, governor, board member, whatever it is, I don't know the exact position he holds, but Waller said that a mild recession would be okay. Now, that alone doesn't really matter that much. However, you have to realize why the market is pricing in rate cuts. The market is pricing in rate cuts because they think a recession might happen, and when a recession happens, the Fed is going to want to jump right in and cut rates. Well, guess what? Waller is saying that a mild recession is an okay outcome. So, in order for this narrative to come to fruition, the Fed has to really just move its goalposts around. I mean, they've given you the goalpost. They're okay with a mild recession. That would be considered a good outcome. I believe he even said good, not just okay. Good outcome if there's just a mild recession and we bring inflation down. So there's plenty of slack in the economy, in the outlook, etc., for the Fed to see, and then not to cut. So the market is really asking a tremendous. It's just asking for a tremendous situation. So I don't see that happening. I think a mild recession sounds about right. And I think we'll get that. And I don't think the Fed's going to cut this year. They say they want to bring rates high into 2024 to ensure inflation stays down. We get back to the economy that they frequently talk about, at least Powell does and probably will mention tomorrow, the economy of 2018, 2019, and early 2020, when we had very low inflation. They don't want to just get it down and risk it coming right back up as soon as we ease. Cutting rates is not just cutting rates. I mean, it's a stimulative phenomenon. It can very well bring about inflation. If we have tremendously low unemployment and they cut rates and we just got off an inflation situation and the economy, reboots and accelerates when it's not, prepared to do that for some reason, it's going to cause inflation again. And the Fed has, as they've said, you can choose to fight them. The market is obviously choosing to fight them. I'm fighting the market. They think that the Fed is just going to get it wrong or something. I don't get it. It's not what they're saying. It's like it's like the writing's on the wall, and the market's like not acknowledging the writing on the wall. So whatever. The market is way off from the Fed in many metrics. So the market is expecting inflation to just continue to drop like a stone, and for that to be the case, the Fed is going to say, wow, some of the data has been promising. Inflation still remains far too high. And guess what? We got some better than expected wage growth employment data by 0.1%. It was 1% wage increases in Q4 versus 1.1% expected. That would be 4 and 4.4% annualized. That is not consistent with 2% inflation as far as the Fed has clarified in their discussions on wages. So we're not there yet. They need to get inflation there to 2%, and they're going to keep holding. They're not going to start cutting before it gets to 2%. They're going to stop raising before it gets to 2%, but they're not going to start cutting. And guess what? We're far off from 2%, probably more than a couple meetings. So let's see what happens with that. I've got my expectations, but ultimately anything can happen. But I think the market's getting a little too confident. And I don't know what to tell. Like, I'm looking at the facts. We all got the same facts, and I'm coming to a completely different conclusion. Walmart, now let's talk about this Q1. Walmart, I remember, said they are increasing their minimum wage. McDonald's said today they're having labor cost problems. Caterpillar said the same thing. Labor cost is still a thing that companies are dealing with, and they're certainly discussing. The Federal Reserve talks to businesses about their labor costs, and that's how they make their decisions about labor. Part of it. I mean, obviously they look at the data too, but they talk to businesses. They say they talk to businesses. They don't really follow the market's expectations of, the report, rally or something. So, just something to think about. Virtually every metric that we can look at on inflation is still, as the Fed would say, far too high. So, I don't think the Fed is going to cut. As I said before, they said they're okay with the mild recession. So, there's not much else we can talk about today. Yeah, Snap, A&D, whatever, earnings looking a little weak in my opinion. I watched hours and hours of CNBC every day. I heard last week people say earnings were good. I don't agree with that. I don't really see a whole lot of good earnings. So we'll see what happens. Tomorrow's the Fed. Big day. Until then, until tomorrow, peace out.